are very pleased tonight to be back once again at the Embassy of Italy. We are honored that the Embassy allows us to be here, and we are particularly honored by the presence of the Ambassador of Italy, Mariangela Zappia.
Good evening, buonasera a tutti e benvenuti. It's so nice to see this place, you know, living like this with a very beautiful dinner with beautiful people. This is normally our office, so it's great to see it also used in a different way and for such an important cause. I'm, of course, very pleased to welcome you all to the Embassy of Italy. Or perhaps I should rather say benvenuti a casa, because this is also your home. It's truly a home for all of you who love Italian culture, our heritage and style of life. A warm grazie goes to the Italian Cultural Society Director, Francesca Casazza, and to the Chair of the Board, Annelise Brody, for organizing this fundraising event and for their generous commitment to the ICS activities. A special greeting also goes to tonight's honoree, Domenico De Sole. We just met. Here you are. Chairman in the world. Thank you for being with us and for adding luster with your presence to our country. We are very excited to listen to your conversation with Sara Gay Forden, whom I also just met, author of the book House of Gucci, and who I'm very pleased to greet and welcome. Last but not least, I wish to recognize the Master of Ceremonies, Amy Riolo. Amy wears several hats. She's a renowned chef, component for our Italian network in the United States and plays a key role in enhancing our bella lingua. The promotion of Italian language in the United States is a priority for our government, which actively supports it with financial contributions, teaching material, training, and unrelenting enthusiasm. Today, Italy is the fourth most studied language in the world and in the USA, which alone counts over 220,000 students of Italian in schools, universities, and in other kind of courses and teaching. In addition, the sheer number of AP Italian exams taken, 2,102, the certification recognizes proficiency of Italian in the US, as well as the number of schools involved, 401, clearly show that despite the pandemic, language has actually grown stronger. Our Italian language is an essential element of that soft power, which is actually a recognized cultural superpower. The great and growing success of our language worldwide goes hand in hand with its association with style and quality of both our Made in Italy and our Italian way of life. Education is a fundamental driver, I would say an enabler of change. Today, like yesterday, investing in education means laying the foundations for social mobility, spreading prosperity, and fighting the dangers of social exclusion. Education is the mainspring of our social progress, the highest expression of achievement in our society, and is pivotal to enriching our lives. Culture and education are also a stronghold of tolerance against fanatism and extremism. This is a view that Italy holds dear, one which is inherent to our history and geography, but which also reflects a clear political commitment to make Italy a country open to innovation and to talents from abroad. Allow me to conclude by quoting the words of President Mattarella, our head of state, in his message for the International Mother Language Day. He said, he said it in Italian, but he said, Italian is a living language. It has a glorious past, but also a secure future, capable as it is of adapting to the historical moment and to fully expressing the sentiments of people. These words sum up our deep commitment to supporting the Italian language, an extraordinary tool of cohesion for our communities abroad, and a formidable flywheel for spreading our culture. Let us now enjoy this beautiful evening and what I'm confident will be delightful entertainment. Buona serata a tutti e ancora grazie per essere qui. Benvenuti a voi.
Buonasera, buonasera. I will invite you all to please take your seat now as our evening will formally start. Welcome everybody. It is a time to celebrate. I am Annalise Brody, I'm the chair of the board of directors, and I want to thank you from the heart for being here in this beautiful evening tonight. So much green and so much hope. We at ICS, we would like to celebrate first and foremost all of you for being here, of course, before we start celebrating our very special guest, Domenico De Sole, who is kindly graced us with his presence. President Kennedy said that this country cannot afford to be morally, to be rich materially, but spiritually poor. And we cannot afford the humiliation of ignorance. And because you're all here tonight, I leave you with this, and I thank you again. Have a good evening. Okay. Buonasera a tutti again, and benvenuti, welcome. On behalf of the Board of Directors, the Gala Committee, I want to thank everyone for being here. In particular, I want to thank our honorary guests, Domenico De Sole and Eleanor De Sole, for this beautiful occasion that they are giving us tonight. And thank you, Annalisa, for your words. And I'm very happy tonight to have a Master of Ceremony with us. And I'm ready to call her to join me here. Her name is Amy Riolo, and she's an award-winning, best-selling author, chef, television personality. So her titles could go on, but here she is, Amy Riolo.
Buonasera a tutti, che piacere. As a fourth-generation Italian-American, it's a huge honor and a sincere pleasure to be here with all of you tonight. And I see so many wonderful faces. I would like to thank Francesca for inviting me to be here, and also to everybody at the Italian Cultural Society who does such an amazing job every day. To those of you here at the Embassy of Italy, and to Her Excellency, Ambassador Mariangela Zappia. You know, Giuseppe Verdi had a saying, the great Italian composer. He had a saying, and he said, "You may have the entire universe if I may have Italy." And I think that's, many of us here today feel that. But that statement also encapsulates the essence of what ICS does. because they every day, through their work, their educational programs, their language classes, their cultural events, their benefits, what they do is they bring people the universe of Italy. A few days ago, I received a phone call by a young man. He was 15 years old, and he lived in a place in a very small town in upstate New York where they did not teach Italian. And he said, "Chef, I'm a fifth generation Italian American, and no one in my family speaks Italian." He said, "I've been teaching myself Italian through classes online," and he spoke with me for 30 minutes in Italian. He had a little bit of an accent, but he had never been to Italy, and he had never spoken with anybody in Italian before. And it was so amazing. And I said to him, learning some words and a different way of communicating, you're giving yourself a new universe. And when I stopped to think about it, this is what the Italian language and the Italian culture has given me, is an entire universe. It's my livelihood, but it's also my deepest pleasure and my most meaningful relationships that have come because of this. My work in Italy, being one of the founding member of a nonprofit, publishing books, having business partners in Italy with whom I have organizations here in the United States. My friends in Napoli who are here with us today, in Sicily, my family in Crotone, Calabria. If we weren't able to converse together, we wouldn't be able to have any relationship at all. And so the language opens this up to all of us, every language. But when it's with Italian, you also get all of these extra added in cultural benefits of the music and the food and the fashion, which we're going to celebrate tonight, and the true joy in the daily living arts that brings so much pleasure and meaning to our lives. So I think that no matter where anybody comes from, the heroic works of Francesca and her entire staff, and many of you here today, Dottoressa Maria Fusco is here with us today, and she also works relentlessly at promoting the language. This is remarkable. And so on that note, from the bottom of my heart, before we list them, I would love to start talking about our sponsors and just tell them how meaningful their world is.
Yes, it's a good time to say thank you, right? Should we start with the platinum sponsors? Yes.
Sure. So the first one that we have is TTR Sotheby's International Realty. They're the premier luxury brokerage in the Washington metropolitan area with a direct connection to Sotheby's Auction House and a network of associates across the country and the world.
And thank you to Becker's Lawyers, an important group of experienced attorneys in DC.
Mille grazie to Generali Global Assistance, part of the Europe Assistant Group, who takes care of travel agents and more, and they're here with us tonight from New York.
Taylor Agostino Group at Compass that offers almost for almost 4 decades of real estate expertise in DC and the surrounding markets. And thank you for being here with us tonight.
We also have our gold sponsors, who are Ferrero, Campari, who many of us are enjoying already, the Fincantieri Marine Group, Bethesda Travel and Bank of America, and we're very proud of the Italian origins of Bank of America, right, which started many years ago as the Bank of Italy in San Francisco, California.
And silver sponsor, Salvatore Ferragamo.
We also have beverage and food sponsors, Ca du Ferrà, Il Cantinieri Imports with Marramiero Wines, Dolci Gelati, e Creminelli Charcuterie.
Bronze sponsors, No Anxiety Prep Educational Consulting, Your Italian Passport, and Patent Plans Garden Center. Thank you, all of you, and as well as thank to the individual donors and all of you that make our work possible. And let me give you a glimpse of what it is that you are supporting.
language courses we teach culture. Culture intended as a system of knowledge, values, behaviors, and products. Learning a language doesn't only mean learning grammatical rules. A language is an instrument to express ourselves and our civilization. In the welcoming environment of our classrooms, we teach who the Italians are, the history and geography that define our character and our traditions.
Durante il Rinascimento gli artisti inventano
la prospettiva!
Through our courses, as well as through the events that we organize, we intend to export the qualities, the strengths of our artists, writers, poets, musicians, designers, entrepreneurs, and chefs.
Bravissima Francesca e a tutti.
Yes, I would like to call some teachers are here, some are following us on Facebook Live, but for the teachers who are here, a big round of applause, please. Thank you for your job, for your passion that you put every day. Being shy. Anyway, thank you to everyone. But I let you introduce the theme of the night.
Okay, thank you. So tonight's celebration, Beyond the Runway, is really about discussing the foundation of the fashion industry, the craftspeople who have gone the great length to ensure perfection in every detail. Domenico De Sole, a fashion industry game changer, is the perfect example of the business sense and artistic vision necessary to make an impact in the modern fashion world. So let's discover il mondo suo.
Domenico, I think probably for our first interview, I asked him how he ended up becoming president of Gucci America, and he sort of shrugged and said, I spoke Italian. Who's Domenico De Sole? When I met Domenico, I think probably for our first interview, I asked him how he ended up becoming president of Gucci. Who's Domenico De Sole? The short answer is that he was the head of Gucci. The bigger answer is that as the business head of Gucci, he really understood how to collaborate with creativity. He really transformed the way that we think about fashion. I mean, he made it into not just a global business, but a globally traded business.
What does Gucci have that everyone wants? The famous, like this pretty woman.
Where does a gal go for one-of-a-kind pants? Filene's?
Gucci?
Oh. Ooh.
I'm Jennifer Tilly, and I'm a Gucci-holic.
Gucci really became the show that you needed to see. It was really defining the sensibility of the time. It was really defining what a fashion show could look like. I remember that it was one of the few runways that was pretty diverse, and it was a runway that oozed sex. Like, it just bubbled over with sex. It was very sexy. I don't know, did I say it was sexy? It was very sexy.
And tonight we focus on one company that's been around since the mid-1920s, but only recently has made its way to Wall Street. And
Brand transformed from classic to cool when CEO Domenico De Sole brought in a creative director, Tom Ford. The Gucci name is now so hot.
I think one of the things that Gucci will always be remembered for is the IPO. The IPO absolutely changed the nature of the fashion industry. It changed the way that Wall Street thought about fashion. And I think it also changed the way that the public at large looked at fashion. You know, it invited in a lot of people who were not interested in hemlines and color stories. And, you know, it just sort of widened the audience for the consumption of fashion. And by that, I don't just mean the clothes. I mean just sort of the idea of it and the impact of it.
With his dark suits and lawyer's demeanor, De Sole may not fit in with the supermodels and socialites, but he knows how they shop.
This has been very, very successful, and it's basically sold out on a worldwide basis. I'm delighted with it. As far as I'm concerned, everything I wear is a little more conservative. In fact, Tom's makes fun of me of all time. However, I would like to point out that this is a Gucci suit, is a Gucci tie, a Gucci shirt, and Gucci shoes.
During the Gucci years, Domenico's greatest accomplishment was really maintaining the success that Gucci had achieved and fending off a takeover by LVMH. I mean, that was the big fashion business story of the decade, really. Gucci was sort of slowly building itself into a conglomerate of luxury brands. And LVMH, the largest luxury conglomerate in the world, basically wanted Gucci. And Domenico was having none of it. All the time that Domenico had spent in the US really gave him a different way of dealing with the media. And the media was all over this story. Domenico was very accessible. You know, he talked about Gucci, and he talked about it in a really personal way. You know, he talked about it as a company that meant a lot to him. And I think that really registered with people. I think it really gave people a connection to him. And I think it, in many ways, sort of speaks to, you know, who he is as a person. Obviously, you know, Domenico's influence continues, you know, today through Tom Ford. But honestly, the Gucci film, I wanted more Domenico.
Always the highlight of my week. So thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, signori, I now have the time to present to you our honorary guest for 2022, Domenico De Sole.
I didn't expect to give a speech. I expected just to be interviewed by Sara. But the only thing I can say, I didn't see this. I didn't see this short movie before. The only thing I can say, my wife, I'm sure, will have something to criticize about it. But my mother will be super, super proud of me. And I hope my daughters, obviously. Okay, Sara, are you ready? Sara is a wonderful writer. She's the House of Gucci, and I spent a lot of time talking to Sara in Italy. Sara works for Bloomberg. He's a well-known journalist, and the book is really sensational. So my advice after dinner, if you haven't read it yet, please go and buy the book. It's available everywhere.
Thank you, Domenico, for that introduction. It was wonderful. Thank you all for being here tonight. It is very exciting, and we are just so thrilled and delighted to be honoring your amazing career here with Eleanor, with Ricky, with Laura, and so many of your friends also from your time in Washington, D.C. And as Robin so beautifully pointed out, you really were a game changer who just transformed your career from early days working with Patton Boggs in Washington, D.C., to becoming a world-class luxury CEO that did transform the fashion business. But since we're also here tonight about the celebration of Italy and the United States, I wanted to go back to the beginnings and to your childhood in Calabria. This is also an Italian-American story, and it was very key to key transitions over the course of your career. So I wanted to ask if you could give us a flavor a little bit of what your childhood was like growing up in Ciro. And also, did you ever have a moment where you envisioned where you would go on to live and to develop?
Okay, well, can you hear me? Yeah. My life, actually, my young life was, it was great in a way. It was a very unique time. I think Italy was very poor. It was after the war. And I remember spending endless amount of time in Calabria. I have to be somewhat careful because I heard that a lot of people from Calabria here. So before I say everybody, but I think it was a very happy time. Calabria is a beautiful land, but a very, very hard place, really, with a lot of hard people. And also I think Calabria is a real curse. People go to Calabria, they don't do very much in Calabria, but move them out of Calabria, they do phenomenally well. So I think this is happening to Calabria for many, many generations, and I'm sure the people here from Calabria understand. It's a beautiful region, very hard place, very beautiful physically, and with a lot of hard people. And I see somebody agree with me. And as to, no, I just think sometime when you reach a certain age, you think about your life. I think growing up there, look at where I am now, I think there probably was one chance in 10 billion. So that was a pretty extraordinary trip, and hope the trip continues for a few more years. I have young grandchildren, I like to see them grow up.
Were there any lessons that you recall from your childhood in Calabria that you bring with you even today?
I would say people are very hard in Calabria, so the rule I really learned, never give up, never give in, and be very tenacious, and if you want something, just go and get it.
So then we go from Calabria to Harvard University, which opened up a whole new world to Domenico. How did you get from there to Boston to pursuing a law degree?
It was very simple. My mother was a wonderful person, but used to drive me insane. And so I had an opportunity to come to the United States, and I said, well, this is going to be great because I'm going to move away from my mother. My generation, people that are from Italy know this. My generation used to live at home until you got married. So I had no intention of getting married, number one. And number two, even worse, the idea of spending another 10 years maybe at home was terrorizing to me. So I had a unique opportunity, and I went to school to this country, which really changed my life forever.
So I wonder if your mother maybe taught you something about dealing with difficult personalities, because it was in the early 80s that you met the Guccis, and I believe first was Rodolfo and Aldo. Can you tell us a little bit about that encounter?
That is actually beautifully described in your book, except one thing. I never wore white socks, okay? I didn't. Even in the movie, the guy plays my role was wearing white socks. It's not true. I don't wear white socks, only black socks. So, but anyway, it was a very strange set of circumstances. I was in Italy. I was a young lawyer, and I was visiting a very well-known lawyer in Milan, a professor. We were actually a beautiful location near our current showroom in Via Borgo Nuovo in Milan. You know Milan. And I was about to drive from the United States, and I did my work. I was about to go to my hotel. So this gentleman, his name was Giuseppe Sena, a very well-known guy. He said to me, don't go home, don't go to your hotel yet. The Gucci family are my clients. They're coming here, and I think you should meet them. I said, okay. And so they arrived. They arrived in two groups. And they sat on the upper side, a very long table. This law firm had a very beautiful room, beautiful Italian furniture, and a very, very long table. I mean, really long. And so the members of the family sat on both sides of the table, and they started talking. And I was minding my own business, really, because it had nothing to do with that. And they were all yelling and screaming. Some people were speaking English, others responded in Italian, some asking questions in Italian, others responded. It was a massive disaster. Until the professor said, I'm sick and tired of this, but I have a young friend of mine that is an Italian-American now that lives in America, is a lawyer, that speaks good Italian and good English. So I let him take care of this meeting. So he called me. There's a little podium. I got to the podium, and what happened, so I started really managing the meeting. And there was a gentleman, an older gentleman in the group. He used to scream at everybody, would interrupt everybody, scream at everybody. So I got really mad at him, and I yelled at him. I was really nasty with him. I said, shut up, and please let everybody speak. To give a chance to everybody. So I managed this meeting reasonably well. So the meeting ends. I'm about to go to my hotel, and a gentleman comes to me. I still remember like a dream, grabs me and said, who are you? I said, well, I gave him my name. And I said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to my hotel. He said, no. You're a genius, and from now on, you're going to be my lawyer. I said, okay. And I discovered that was Rodolfo Gucci. The reason was because unknown to me, the person that I beat up was the legendary Aldo Gucci, was the patriarch of the family, and everybody was afraid of him. I was not afraid. First of all, I didn't know who it was. Number two, I'm not involved in the situation. And that was the beginning of my long, very deep friendship with Rodolfo Gucci, and then the beginning of the Gucci Wars.
Well, and that first tumultuous meeting was the first of years of tumultuous meetings. And so first under the family, there was the tax scandal with Aldo. There were the legal battles with Maurizio, who at one point had to flee to Switzerland and ran the company in exile. Then under Investcorp, there was a turnaround, the IPO, and the takeover battle with LVMH. So it was almost like one battle to the next. It was never easy, a business as usual, but business as usual was a constant challenge. So my question is, what is the secret to your staying power through all of these ups and downs? And what kept you from just throwing in the towel and walking away?
Okay, it depends. When the most difficult time for me really was, in a way, I achieved my goal from the very beginning because Rodolfo had died in the meantime, and I achieved the goal of putting Maurizio in place because I was running Gucci America and controlling the company on his behalf. So finally, Maurizio became the chairman and CEO of the entire company, and much to my surprise, in a way, he turned out to be a complete disaster. He had this sort of I would say, blurred vision for the company, but could not execute. It was a real tragedy. So it was very, very difficult. And he very quickly ran the company to the ground. So that was a very difficult time. And then finally in 1994, basically the company that was owning Gucci at that moment bought Maurizio out and asked me to run it. I became the CEO of the company. Then I learned the greatest lesson in life, that it's much better to be lucky than smart, because they wanted to fire Tom, because Maurizio tried to fire Tom, and I stopped them. And then the Investcorp people asked me, who would you like to be the creative director of the company? And so I said, well, I really like Tom. I knew him not very well, but I thought he was very talented. And I remember driving up to Milan from Florence, and he was a kid. He was really a kid. And I said to him, I said, Tom, I think that we have an opportunity. I'll run the company. You design. And I said, the only thing I promised me, don't be late with the collection. Otherwise, I will design, and there will be a real catastrophe. So he was never late. And then we had the greatest time, really. We turned the company around very quickly. And, Tom had a real vision for the company. And we implemented the vision very well.
Well, and this is more than just sort of a casual relationship between a designer and a businessman. I mean, your relationship with Tom really became a model for the fashion industry, and in a way it echoed relationships like Yves Saint Laurent and Pierre Berger, or Armani and Gagliotti, but you became the model for the new emerging brands of that time, and everybody wanted to find this, this pairing of creativity with business savvy. So what was the secret for that that bond that even outlasted, the family ties, which kind of tore the company apart?
Yeah, actually, that is very special. In fact, I spent 3 days with Tom 2 weeks ago, and I said to him, Tom, we've been together now for 28 years. He said, no, we've been married for 30. I said, okay, that's good. But what it is, Tom is really an extraordinary. The reason why everything works with him, because I never try to design the collections. Okay, that's the number one rule. I know what not to do, and he knows what he has to do. So we respect each other. And another thing that is very good, we work together really forever now, but every day that we work together, I still want to impress Tom how good I am, and he always tries to impress me to show me how good he is. So it's something that goes on all the time. We push ourselves to be better all the time and do a better job with our companies. And he's an extraordinary player. I think he's a real genius. I think he's just an amazing person, and also a very intelligent person. So we have a very good, mature relationship. It's really terrific.
It's a lasting team. So going back to the family, as I was writing the book, I really saw the Gucci story as a metaphor for the challenges that many family-owned companies have in this whole issue of generational change. And how do you hand down your company from one generation to the next and make it successful and smooth? And I was at a talk recently where a businessman from a private equity firm came up to me. Actually, I was in Bologna at my 35th grad school reunion, and he said, these families, they just don't understand. At a certain point, they just have to step away and let the professional managers come in. But at the same time, in those years, there was no MBA for the fashion industry. There was no Marco Bizzarri. It was still very much of an emerging sector. What thoughts or what conclusions have you come to after all these years of sort of what's the secret to a smooth and successful transition?
I think that, at least in fashion, that's what I can talk about. I really do believe that the key, first of all, is to have a huge amount of discipline, because in fashion it's very easy sometimes to justify a lot of silly expenses or other things. So, and on top of that, historically, fashion started as until Tom and I arrived, it was not really run as a professional business. Most of it was a family business. So a lot of us tried everything. And the other thing is to make sure that the right time you're able to change designer. Tom's arrived sometime, designer run their course. And so the moment arrives in which the brand becomes more important than the designer, and the ability also, it's very difficult sometimes for creative people to just give up and have somebody else younger really interpret the brand. So that I think is very important. It's not very easy. And very few people have been able to transition from one generation to the other.
There was also something even though you were hired, you were working for Investcorp and later for the stock market, for the investors, there was something very personal about your connection with Gucci and Tom's connection with Gucci. It almost felt like it was your baby, it was your company. Was that something that was intentional? And I know you were always very correct about saying, no, I have a board, I can't decide this, there is a structure here. But at the same time, it was very personal. Was that part of the rebirth, or was that something that was intentional?
No, I think that we love the company. I think that really we felt this was the wrong company, because I believe if you are in a successful trajectory, which the company is already doing well, and then suddenly you take your job from another CEO, obviously it's a very professional relationship. For us, when we took over, the company was broke. We thought the company would be sold few months after we took over. So for us, it was very intense, very emotional. We loved the company. We still love the company. I still view as my legacy. So it's a very strong bond that Tom and I had. And in fact, it was very, very difficult when we left. I think it was easier for me because I was older and I'd done my part, I felt. And the company, we sold it for a massive amount of money, considered. And but for Tom, it was very, very hard. He went through a very difficult time. So we loved the company. We loved our people. We hired everybody. So we knew everybody. So it was intensely emotional. And in a way, that's why it made us so successful.
Even the designer of Gucci today, Alessandro Michele, was hired by you and Tom. Yeah. So another one of your qualities that I wanted to bring out as we talk about your career is your negotiating skill. And when you did the deal with Pinault after the handbag wars with Arnault, you know, he said, here's $3 billion and I want you to turn Gucci into a multi-brand group. And so you bought Balenciaga and Stella McCartney and many, many more labels. What is the secret to your negotiating skill?
But what happened there, I don't know if you know the story, when Francois Pinault purchased the company, I made a deal with him. I said, I can now give to you as I'm willing to give to LVMH. So the company will remain independent for another 5 years, and then you can take over the company. So I had 5 years to create a multi-brand group. So a lot of pressure, but the thing that really made a difference for us, that Tom and I were very clear about what we wanted. First of all, we are not arrogant people. We knew exactly what we know. We said, we are not going to buy companies that we don't understand. We want companies with a pretty good idea what we want. We want companies that at some point have been very successful and then it fall into disrepair. And that's really what happened. We bought Yves Saint Laurent. It became now it's doing extremely well. We bought Bottega Veneta. All of them were brands that were great. So we knew exactly the companies that we were buying, and they acquired some really young, great companies because of the designer. And I had a unique time there because I got to work with Alexander McQueen, Stella McCartney, Nicolas Ghesquière was at Balenciaga. So I really had a great time dealing with the greatest designer of the generation. But about the skills, we had a lot of money, obviously, it helped. And then also people liked our business model because in a way there was not an emperor at Gucci. Basically, there was a real professional company. So people were really attracted by that. We had a phenomenal team of people. If you look in fashion the last 10 years, a lot of great managers used to work at Gucci, manager and designers. In fact, Nicolas Ghesquière is now the creative director of Louis Vuitton. So, but one of the reasons we knew exactly what we wanted, and also we were I'm an incredibly disciplined person at work, not at home. My wife is there watching, so I have to be careful what I say. But at work, I'm unbelievably disciplined, and we sometimes, like in the case of Fendi, we say thanks but no thanks. The price doesn't make any sense.
So you've been in a lot of tough situations and under a lot of pressure. When things get really tough and you're up against the wall, what are some of the touchstones that you rely on to get through, and who are some of the people who you look to for advice?
Well, I usually run my own operation, my own mind by myself, but what I tend to do all the time, I like to, depending on the circumstance, there's always somebody in a company situation that I like to run my ideas. I like to talk and run things and be my sounding board. And so that's really what I tend to do. But I don't have a specific, obviously it's a fashionist, Tom. That's very easy. So.
One last question, and I'm so grateful.
And by the way, in real life, outside business, I only do what Eleanor says.
Okay, it's up to you. So I am extremely grateful to you, Domenico, because when I was writing The House of Gucci, he was the person of all the people, and I interviewed 100 people to write this book, and really was focusing on details so that I could tell the story as though it were a novel. And Domenico was the person who had the longest arc of experience with the company, with the family, with the company after the family. He had a photographic memory of every board meeting, every handbag that flew, every tape recorder that got destroyed. And so it was really, he was absolutely essential to my ability to recreate this story as though you were in the room and seeing the people around the table. So my last question for you, since we started with Calabria, did you have any vision as you were starting out that you were going to go so far and end up leading, one of the best top luxury brands in the world?
Absolutely no idea. So it's been a good run.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now, we are close to dinner, but we have one more thing that we want to share with you before the plates are going to be served, and this is a surprise. Okay.
We spend all the time talking about Gucci, but the thing I'm most proud, that 15 years ago, Tom Ford did not exist. Okay, now it's a massive company with a massive business all over the world, and 15 years ago, there was nothing. So that's I'm very, very proud of, and I thank Tom.
There was a second act, which is now a first act. Okay, so now we have a surprise. Domenico, there were many people who you have worked with over the years, friends, family, colleagues, who could not be here tonight with us to celebrate you, and so we invited them to share their memories and their messages. So I'd like to set off the video tribute that our ICS member Carola Mamberti has put together with a brilliant editing job, and please enjoy. And if you want to see it better from down there, that's fine.
This room we're all sitting in tonight is not big enough to accommodate all the people who admire, respect, and love you. This room is not big enough to accommodate all the people you've mentored, nurtured, and led effectively in your extraordinary career over the last 40 and 50 years.
I wanted to congratulate you and to say that you've always been an inspiration for me, both personally and professionally. You've been the best boss ever for me. You've taught me everything that I know. You and Tom have been fantastic, and my days at Gucci are memorable.
He brought style, glamour, and profits back into a failing family business.
My 14 years at Gucci went by in a flash, really. The tremendous success of Gucci was nothing short of incredible. Domenico, I saw you work hard each and every day. Your passion, drive, and ability to relentlessly search for solutions to problems and find innovative ways to solve and improve them was an amazing example of strong leadership and an inspiration to us all.
Domenico is very tough when the situation demands. He is a formidable counterpart in difficult negotiations, but he is also a warm and sympathetic person. He inspires great loyalty, and he creates an atmosphere in a company which has many components of family.
Domenico, you are a unique friend. A friend you have never to ask for anything, that is always available when needed. And being CEO of companies where you are in the board, I feel always safe with you because you are the most scrupulous man I ever met in my life. Thank you, Domenico.
When Domenico and I were a little kid, our mother enforced strict discipline, and her favorite weapon was the battipanni, the carpet beater. Soon, we devised an effective tactic to minimize the dreaded weapon. As our enraged mother went for the battipanni, we rushed to our bedroom, jumped on the bed, and frantically spinned our legs, so that she could only strike the sole of our shoes. As we grew up, we were able to gently take the battipanni out of our mother's hands, and with the loss of her preferred weapon, her hegemonic power faded away.
Domenico and I go back more than half a century, more precisely to the spring of 1971, when I was a second-year student at Harvard Law School, and he was a visiting professor from Rome. Domenico said he really liked the place, and I said, well, why don't you apply to come back for a year and get an LLM degree? And so I explained what that was and where he might ask for admission. And so he went in, and lo and behold, after a couple of hours, he came out and he said it was amazing. They took me, but I can't begin to afford what it's going to cost. So I said, well, there's an answer for that too. You got to go back in to the financial aid department and tell them you need money. And so we worked out the numbers and so forth. He went back in, and after not quite a couple of hours, I think it may have been a day or two, he came back and says, amazing, they're also giving me the money.
I had the great pleasure to be and privilege to be able to work with you as a partner of InvestCorp when you and the management team totally transformed the business from its tumultuous past into a very successful IPO and tremendous share price performance thereafter, and transforming the business into one of the leading luxury goods of all time. From there, I've also, had the benefit of your incredible friendship. The times together personally, and together with the families. But I've benefited and really appreciate tremendously your advice, perspective, counsel, and keeping me on the straight and narrow. And more importantly, I am so thankful for the tremendous support you've given me over the last 25 plus years.
We go back a long way to the very, very first days. I think I was absolutely the first person from InvestCorp to meet you, and under those dark days, those dark circumstances, and parachuting into Florence together. I wouldn't know where to begin. It was a fascinating journey, a journey of a lifetime. It was never a dull moment. We did some amazing things. Your leadership was brilliant. We worked so closely together. I think one of the things I think about or remember most is the fact that it didn't matter what time of day or night. It could be 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Didn't matter where you were in the world. If you texted Domenico De Sole before you pressed the send button, he'd be back to you.
One time we were coming in for a meeting in the New York store, and I don't know, for people that have traveled in Manhattan, Midtown can be just a brutal crossing it at the wrong time during the day. And sure enough, we got stuck in a huge traffic jam. We weren't going anywhere. And the driver we had at the time, and Domenico would remember him, his name was George. We were just stuck. And finally, Domenico says, just go on the sidewalk. And George said, what? He said, drive on the sidewalk. And that's what we did. He drove this big Cadillac. He had this green Cadillac, of course, with a phone. Trash cans, people jumping out of the way, and Domenico saying, go, 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 go. And I'm just laughing, and sure enough, we made our meeting. I don't remember what the meeting was about, but we made our meeting, and this is Domenico. Nothing's going to slow him down.
He works fast, skis fast, thinks quickly, and decides super quickly. His intelligence, passion, and extraordinary ability to communicate and motivate never changed.
What strikes me about him is that he's a unique person, always available for friends and for individual trust. And I think I would mention three major features of his. He likes to get things done. He's the best negotiator ever, and he never gives up.
He is a strategist, and only a strategist of his talent could have produced the success in defending Gucci against the LVMH attack. He identified the threat that Gucci was going to be under. He identified it years in advance of the battle actually beginning. I had 2 years to prepare for the battle, and that led to the success of Gucci's war with LVMH and ultimately the strategic alliance with Pinot.
I've watched you change the game since we met at Gucci, then when you were on the board of P&G, and again with the incredible Tom Ford brand together. You lead change so well because you have a vision, and this works. One thing that has not changed is your passion for developing and leading young talent. This is one of the best ways to lead change in society. I truly admire you also for this.
I was thinking back on the many years that I've spent at Gucci since you left, and I know that I am likely here after all this time because of the experience that you gave me, and more than that, the passion and the love that you and Tom ignited inside of me for a career in fashion. And I think being exposed to you so early in my career, you have always been the standard to which I have measured things, and I am so happy to congratulate you for this well-deserved honor tonight. Sending love to you, Eleanor, Laura, Ricky, and your whole family. Congratulations.
Domenico, congratulations. I've so missed having you on the Condé Nast board. I've always admired your positive spirit and your very wise advice. And I miss your daughter too. All of us here at Vogue just adore Ricky. She is as polite and thoughtful and positive as you are. And quite tenacious too. I can't imagine where she gets that from. Please know that both of you are always welcome back anytime. And let me say that I so enjoyed our recent Ridley Scott House of Gucci virtual reunion. Congratulations and love.
I'm sorry I can't be there tonight with you to celebrate one of my favorite people in the world, Domenico De Sole. But I wanted to tell you my thoughts about Domenico. Working with Domenico is incredible in many ways, but one of the things I love about Domenico is he moves at such a quick pace. I think that's one of the reasons that we work so well together. We both share that idea that it really shouldn't be done tomorrow, shouldn't even be done now, should have been done yesterday. Every day working with Domenico, I learn something. Every day working with Domenico, I have fun, even when we're going through something that's tough or terrible. I've often heard Domenico say that, every day was a battle, and it's true. But I think maybe both of us like battles. I think Domenico certainly does, and you don't want to get into a battle with Domenico because he will win. What I would love everyone who is here tonight celebrating Domenico to know, if you don't already, is that he is one of the most loyal, true, moral, steadfast human beings I've ever met. I would absolutely trust Domenico with my life. And like a lot of you in the room, I love Domenico, and I feel so happy and honored to know him.
Laura and I always say that we won the parent lottery. Our dad is loving, kind, generous, competent, hardworking, determined. Of all the memories that I have with my father, and there are so many wonderful ones, the one that I cherish the most was the day that we spent racing bumper cars in Impruneta. My fiercely competitive father took it upon himself to start racing every single kid in the town. Instead of getting out at the end of our turn to go get another ticket, Dad would jump out of the car, race and buy one, and then jump back in, just so we didn't lose a turn. What was meant to last just a few hours went well into the night until we were the last car standing. My dad's sense of determination has always stuck with me. That same determination I felt when we were driving across the country my senior year at Georgetown, alone together, and my dad insisted on listening to the same Lucio Dalla CD on repeat for 3 days straight. And for anyone who knows my father well, knows that if he's determined to reach you by phone and you don't pick up, he will keep calling until you do.
So what are some lessons I've learned from my dad over the years? Well, certainly hard work, perseverance, loyalty, being kind to others. But really, the importance of family, love, and affection, because no matter how hard he works, and he works a lot and very hard, I've always felt a tremendous amount of love from him. And he's taught me some other few key words of importance. Location, location, location. Execution, execution, execution. And if the food is terrible, there's always a pizza joint open late you can escape to.
Having known you as the legal mind, the entrepreneur, the innovator, the CEO, and the board member, but also known you as a friend, let's not forget your secret weapon. Let's not forget your partner. Let's not forget the success of your principal advisor, our dear Eleanor. The world has benefited from 2 for 1, and as everyone in the room knows tonight, Eleanor has been at your side through thick and thin in her unconditionally candid, creative, and sometimes emotional way, but she's been there. So Domenico, congratulations on being honored. Congratulations on all you've accomplished. Eleanor, bravo for your extraordinary, seamless, and flawless partnership. The world is a much better place because of both of you. Bravo, and thank you.
Quando corre.
This year's to our honorary guest goes with the theme of celebrating Made in Italy and craftspeople. And Giovanni Raspini sent this personally for you with a note from us. We'll remember this night. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sara, so much for being a friend and a board member and a famous writer, very famous writer. Thank you. Buonasera again, and now it's time to celebrate the recipients of the Scholarship Awards 2022. And we start with the Maria Wilmette Award that goes to students who study Italian in high schools, where it's part of the curriculum of the school. Tonight we have Andrea Trivino, Woodbridge Senior High School. This time. Emma Oleas Davis, Woodbridge Senior High School. And Ian Molazade, Duke Ellington School of the Arts. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you so much.
Buonasera a tutti, sono Andrea Trivino, studentessa di italiano alla Woodbridge Senior High School, Virginia. Volevo ringraziare tutti per l'opportunità di essere qui. Sono così felice di essere presente e di ricevere un premio straordinario. Voglio ringraziare i miei genitori, la professoressa Ippolito e la Società della Cultura Italiana. Sono così felice che il mio video abbia vinto. È molto bello parlare con tutti ed essere all'ambasciata. Grazie.
Buonasera a tutti, mi chiamo Emma, sono una studentessa della Woodbridge Senior High School. Sono molto grata di ricevere questo premio. Grazie per avermi scelto. Voglio ringraziare la mia insegnante di italiano, la professoressa Ippolito, per avermi aiutato a migliorare il mio italiano. Voglio anche ringraziare mia madre per avermi incoraggiato a fare del mio meglio. Sono molto grata per l'opportunità che mi è stata data. Grazie.
Buonasera a tutti. Io mi chiamo Jan e voglio ringraziare la società italiana di Washington DC. C'è un onore di essere qui. Vorrei ringraziare la signora Casazza, la mia insegnante italiana, signora Motica. Grazie mille.
Grazie mille ragazzi, complimenti a tutti. And one of the teacher, Laura Motica, is here. Laura, round of applause for your fantastic job. I don't see you. Okay. So as you know, the Italian Cultural Society celebrates all form of arts, well, especially the language, but we also award recipients of the awards for arts, classics, but now we want to start with music. So the winner of the Luciana Montanari Mentola Award for Outstanding House School Pianist is Dylan Schankel. And what will you play for us tonight?
Congratulations. I'd also like to thank a few people. I will be playing Sonata in D minor, K141 by the Italian composer Domenico Scarlatti. And then I will play Ballade number 1 in G minor by Chopin. I'd like to thank a few people quickly. Firstly, I'd like to thank the ICS for giving me the honor of having this award. I'd like to thank my piano teacher. Thank you so much. You know who you are.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ronald Capoletti. I'm an ICS President Emeritus and a retired physicist from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and I'm here to introduce you to the 2022 ICS Young Scientist Awardee, Dr. Marta Zampino. But before I do that, I want to thank Dr. Jeff Nico, also a physicist at NIST, who also provides funding to this award, and I want to introduce my other colleagues on the selection committee, Professor Luigi De Luca, who could not be here this evening, Dr. Giulio Busolini, entrepreneurial advisor with the 4-2N organization, and Dr. Giuseppe Cataldo, program manager at NASA Goddard. Gentlemen, if you be recognized by people. Thank you. And now about Marta Zampino. She is a visiting fellow at the NIH's National Institute of Aging, working with Dr. Luigi Ferrucci. Born near Rome into a medical family, she holds a degree in medicine and surgery from Catholic University in Rome, where she graduated summa cum laude in 2017. Before coming to NIH, Dr. Zampino gained further medical experience at the Université de Nantes and Rome's prestigious Università La Sapienza. At NIH, Dr. Zampino specializes in the role of mitochondrial dysfunction in aging using a phosphorus nuclear magnetic resonance technique. She's published 15 scientific articles, 6 as first author, with another in review and a book chapter. And she, in July, will change her job. She'll begin residency in internal medicine at the University of Maryland Hospital in Baltimore. Here's what her colleagues have to say about her. Dr. Ferrucci rates her as one of the 3 most brilliant and promising fellows I mentored in my lab over the last 10 years. Dr. Eleanor Simoncic, co-director of the project on which Dr. Zampino is currently working, says, Dr. Zampino is among the most curious, thoughtful, enthusiastic, and personable young individuals I have worked with over the past 30 years. Dr. Shotiko Tanaka, one of the project staff, says she can explain the complex magnetic resonance data so that anyone without a background in the technology can understand it. Just a word about her work itself. We all learned in high school biology that mitochondria are a kind of a cell within a cell of most cells that function as a kind of engine to produce a molecule called ATP that provides a cell with energy it needs to perform its various functions. So when the mitochondrion is dysfunctional, many things can go wrong, including the onset of such diseases as diabetes. And mitochondria also play a role in the aging and death of cells themselves. So Dr. Zampino's work is an investigation of the dysfunctional mitochondria, the role that it plays in overall aging of complex organisms such as us. Dr. Zampino has another talent we like to honor here at the ICS. She's a practicing musician, currently playing with the Baltimore Philharmonia Orchestra. It is my honor to present you Dr. Marta Zampino, the ICS Young Scientist of the Year. However, due to circumstances beyond her control, Marta Zampino is not able to be here in person this evening. She is in Italy. Just yesterday, she sent us a video to introduce herself. Ladies and gentlemen, please turn your attention to the screen to meet the ICS Young Scientist Awardee of the Year, Dr. Marta Zampino. Thank you.
Hello, it's Marta here. Thank you all so much for tonight, and sorry for not being there in person. I'm currently in Italy waiting for my visa to be processed, and I realize that some of you can understand the struggle. Hopefully I'll be back soon. In the meantime, let me tell you something about myself. I graduated in Rome in 2017 at the Università Cattolica del Sacro Cuore in medicine and surgery, and I came to the United States to join Dr. Ferrucci's lab at the National Institutes on Aging. We studied how mitochondrial function correlates with aging phenotypes. We measured how fast mitochondria produce ATP through oxidative phosphorylation and looked how that measure correlates with aging phenotypes such as chronic inflammation, cardiovascular risk, and many others. It's been a great experience, and now I'm transitioning to a new job, which is medical residency at the University of Maryland. It's really an honor to be with you tonight, even from remote, and I wish you all a great evening. Goodbye.
We have two more awards. The first award is going to be in classics, Latin and Greek. As you know, we are actually running classes of Latin in ICS. In fact, I teach one of them. And soon, hopefully, we will be opening a class of ancient Greek, and I hope not to have to teach that one. And the awardee is going to be Molly Williams. Molly has a flawless GPS and a stellar letters of recommendation, so congratulations, Molly. Absolutely. Please.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm incredibly thankful to the ICS for sponsoring this award for, I believe this year, Luigi De Luca is the sponsor. I'm also to my professor. None of them are here tonight, but I thank them anyway. It's very meaningful to me that these awards exist for the classics when they're very swiftly disappearing from high schools and universities. A lot of classics programs are being cut. And so I'm very thankful that awards like this exist. Thank you.
Our last award of the night is the award for the art, the Patricia Seignon Scholarship Award, and is going to help support a master's degree thesis research, which has a very intriguing title, Eleonora Gonzaga in the Business of Art, a study of female patronage of architectural complexes, maiolica, ceramics, and political paintings. The awardee is going to be Brianna Cooney, so congratulations to this very promising scholar.
Buonasera a tutti. Thank you so much to the Italian Cultural Society for this great honor. I'm pleased to accept this award. I'd like to also thank my professors at American University, where I'm earning my master's degree in art history. I hold a bachelor's degree in international business and art history, and I'm pleased to say that in 2 weeks' time, I am going to use this scholarship to do some research in Florence on Eleonora Gonzaga and her patronage of the arts. Thank you.
Okay, we have one more, Luciana Montanari Mendola Award for outstanding university-level pianist, Xiaobo Liu. He has been an outstanding student and pianist throughout high school and college. Now a graduate student of Catholic University in pianistic studies, he continued to excel. Well, he well deserved the Montanari Mendola Award donated by Silvana De Luca. Enjoy the music and the dessert.
So such an honor to be here, and I'm so glad to receive this award. And I want to say thank you to my piano professor, Dr. Ivo Kochev, and also I want to thank you to the Italian Culture Society. And I'm gonna play the Mephisto Waltz #1, composed by Franz Liszt.